late 1930s and early 1940s were proud times for America's railroads, who were putting forth their best trains in a celebration of design, color, and speed, which highlighted the Streamliner era and emergence from the Great Depression. Out of Chicago came the great trains, bound for all directions. New Streamliners were a stimulating contrast to the conventional coaches and Pullman cars, which were assembled in the majority of train consists. Diesels had yet to make their mark in freight service, and branch line runs were usually headed by hand-me-down steamers. From Milwaukee came John Plichter, armed with his 16mm Bell and Howell, to record these glory machines in labor and in splendor. From high-stepping Hiawatha's and 400s in Wisconsin to Englewood's splendid variety, to an ancient IC mixed, from Keystone-branded K4s to Dreyfuss silver-finned Hudsons, from Union Pacific's M10001 to Santa Fe's stunning Streamliners, John Plichter was on hand, preserving these images of railroad's glory days. We are pleased to offer this new volume, the third in our continuing series, The Glory Machines. Gateway to the West. From the early days of westward expansion, St. Louis has held this honor, making her the crossroads of the country for transport of freight and passengers. With rail connections second in number only to Chicago, St. Louis hosted no less than 28 railroads by 1941. From the collection of Joe G. Colias comes this look back to those glory days and to some of the early post-war Streamliners as well. So return with us to St. Louis for views of the Frisco, Mopac, Pensy, Alton, the Big Four, L&N, Southern, C&EI, B&O, Wabash, C&IM, and further west, sample the Santa Fe and Southern Pacific. All from the 1940s, when the glory machines passed through St. Louis, the gateway to the West. As Santa Fe FT diesels lead a westbound train into Kansas City Union Station, we begin a journey back to the 1940s, when diesels were just beginning to appear on the nation's railroads. From Kansas City, we'll visit St. Louis, Memphis, Atlanta, and other places with many rare treasures in railroading. In these late 1940s views, the east end of the station is busy with the arrivals and departures of trains of the Santa Fe, Milwaukee Road, Rock Island, Kansas City Southern, Katy, Union Pacific, Chicago Great Western, Wabash, and Missouri Pacific. Santa Fe PAs with the eastbound El Capitan. C&EI Train 22, the Zipper, heads for Chicago. Illinois Central's Green Diamond leaves for Chicago. Just 5 minutes behind the C&EI train, both have the same running time. The Burlington's Mark Twain Zephyr leaves at 9 a.m. for Lincoln, Nebraska via St. Joe, followed 5 minutes later by the Pioneer Zephyr heading to Burlington, Iowa. Rock Island Train 52, the Choctaw Rocket, arrives from El Paso. A 10-wheeler on the A&WP. The original concept of the Champion glides over rails of the Florida East Coast, resplendent in the new paint and glimmering stainless steel. C.W. Whitbeck takes us to Texas and the Moscow, Camden, and San Augustine. The mixed train hurries toward Moscow with an ancient combine for any passengers that might happen along. It's November 12th, 1955. The Louisiana Cypress Company operated out of Ponchatoula, Louisiana. 262 No. 1 was the main engine during the 1950s and was built by Porter in 1911. Heading into the swamps, we're riding on standard gauge rails supported by stringers. Paulson Spence was a man with a vision to build an entirely new railroad, one that would bypass New Orleans and offer connecting roads great savings over the terminal charges there. Mr. Spence, standing in the cab of No. 4, insisted he was not a rail fan, but offered free rides to the public on Sunday afternoons during summer visits.